Hello, everybody. Scott Golden with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube audio channel here. And we have daily audios for you to check out. Encourage you to subscribe when you can, if you can, and share where you can. Today, we're going to talk about something that I'm real passionate about, and that is the law of attraction movement that is so pervasive among spirituality and some of the misgivings around the teachings of that movement. Now, if you're not familiar with the law of attraction, you may also know it under the name The Secret, which was the title of the movie that came out probably about 15 or so years ago now with a number of spiritual teachers. Basically, the idea behind the movement was pretty simple. The idea behind the movement was you think it and so shall it be, that your thoughts create things. Now, there's a value to that, and there certainly is a value to that if you use the power of creation in your way of approaching things, that you can create through the power of creation and the mental focus of creation. You can create just about anything you want. What you focus on eventually comes into being because you will take actions towards it. But that's the really interesting part of what is not told in that teaching, and the whole subcontext of the teaching is that an action plan is necessary in order to properly utilize the foundations of the spiritual teaching, of the law of attraction. And in reality, the challenge with that is simply this. So often people think, well, I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I wanted it to happen. But your actions matter just as much as your focus, and the reason behind, or the meaning behind, your actions also matters. If you are coming from a place of negativity, it's going to be much harder to attract or align with opportunity than if you're coming from a place of neutral or positivity or progression. The idea behind that is simply put, you must find a way to see yourself as growing and evolving rather than stagnant and stuck, because the focus of what your thoughts are will impact how you interact with other people and whether you see the opportunities that are in front of you or you miss them because your mind is somewhere else. The problem or challenge with the teaching is everything that you focus upon must be progressive in mind. Now, that does not mean that you can't have a negative thought. No matter of fact, the more you try to force yourself not to have a negative thought, in reality, the harder it's going to be. Don't think negative, don't think negative. Oh crap, I'm doing it again. Instead, when you have a thought that is limiting to you, you must look at it and say, how could I look at this differently? Progressive thinking and flexible thinking is a part of making the law of attraction or the law of attractive action work for you. That is, if I feel stuck, that means I'm not using the power of creation that is within me as a person, within me as a soul, within me as a logical, reasonable, progressive human being. Instead, we look at the limitation and we say, when I grow it, I will find within myself, even from a scientific standpoint, you get what you look for, you get what you seek, you get what you find. Every spiritual text and many scientific texts speak to this fact, and so it is essential to look at what you're thinking about, to look at the actions you're taking. Years ago, and I tell this story in all due reverence, there was a client I had in my relationship coaching practice, and she was a lovely lady. She had met the middle of her life, probably in her late 40s, early 50s. Anyhow, she was sitting there and said, hey, I'd really like to meet my partner. And a client of mine who was very well-meaning said, maybe you can help this person. And so we signed up, and she agreed to do some coaching with me, and she was all excited because she thought I had the golden goose and the Klopman diamond all wrapped into a number of things. And so I said to her, well, you're trying to meet a partner. What are you doing to make that happen? She goes, what do you mean? And I said, well, what do you do for fun? And she says, well, I spend a lot of time at home. And I said, okay, well, where do you go to meet people? And she said, I haven't left my house in 3 years. Now, I had to stifle a chuckle because I thought, that's not very progressive, productive, right? But I couldn't say this to her. So I said, well, you've kind of limited yourself there. She said, whatever do you mean? I said, well, unless the person whom you are going to involve with happens to be, for example, the individual who delivers your mail, or maybe the UPS package delivery driver, you've limited your possibilities. In that moment, she said, well, it's so hard to get out, it's so hard to do this or that. And I said, I understand, but when you open up to other possibilities, then you open up to other people, then you open up to, this and that. And then she went through a litany of health reasons why getting out was difficult, and she had some weight issues, and she had some dietary issues, and she had this condition and that condition. And I said, see, look at how you're speaking about yourself. She said, what do you mean? And I said simply, well, if you were to put that in, if what you just told me you were to put into a dating advertisement, how attractive do you think you'd appear? And she chuckled and she said, I think I'd run the other way. And I said, well, that's why things aren't going the way you'd like them to go. So she got herself together, and it took a few months, probably about half a dozen or so. But she got herself together, and she's now a happily married person. A couple of things in that. She changed her actions and her thoughts about herself simultaneously. She just didn't sit there and think, someday my prince will come and he will sit outside my window. She took different actions, which then allowed her to grow into a new bit of opportunities to get to meet new people and to be able to speak differently and all sorts of really cool things. Now, that happens for every one of us. So often we go, somebody needs to give me an opportunity at work, or somebody needs to give me an opportunity to prove myself that I've quit this bad habit. And if I think about it long enough, it'll just happen. And the challenge with that is, yes, your thoughts are 50% of the, well, actually, your thoughts are 33.3% of the process. If you're thinking in a negative way, you will create an energy that ultimately people don't want to be around. But your actions have to match that, and then the meaning you've given the why has to match the type of person that you want to be and the type of people that you want to be around. In other words, you can't sit there and say, I want to be around wealthy people, or I want to become a wealthy person, and then hang out with people who are just barely getting by living at Walmart. In other words, the idea is you have to surround yourself with opportunities of people who are in progressive growth, so that the way that they view the world rubs off on you. If I want to be a professional athlete, chances are I'm either going to find a mentor who was a former professional athlete, or I'm going to find someone who is a professional athlete, maybe a level or two below where I'm trying to get to, and ask them what they're doing right or progressively positively that I can model and make my own. That's the other part of it. Look, no one is going to want exactly what you want in the world in the way that you want it. And so don't compare, this person has that, this person has more money than me, this person has more time than me, they have more business contacts than me. The question becomes, the use of powerful questions is important because you have an opportunity there. Ask them what they're doing that you're not. Learn from them. You see, there is no reinventing the wheel. The trouble with the law of attraction teaching, think it and it will be, doesn't factor in think it, act upon it, and it will be. And the flaw in the teaching is, especially with things that are more dangerous like health and, even attracting a relationship, if that's really important to a person, is if they're just waiting in a passive state, it is natural in the mind for you to get more frustrated. And then as you become more frustrated, you go, well, what am I doing wrong? Why isn't it happening yet? And now, and now, and now, and now, and now, and now. And then all of a sudden you go, what's wrong with me? I am broken. And that's where the I am statements get real damaging, because at the end of the day, what you say about yourself impacts the energy and the focus and the language that you use and the actions that you take, thereby also creating doubt within yourself about your ability to react to unforeseen circumstances. And in the FLAP method, which is the proprietary method of Golden Opportunities Coaching, Scott Golden and team and staff, the idea is your focus, your language, your actions, and your plan create your compelling life. In other words, if you're not where you want to be, it's because one of those four tenets of belief and one of those four tenets of focus, no pun intended, is off kilter. Now, when you need to refocus your energy and when you need to refocus your concept, your ideas, your mind, it's more asking powerful questions of yourself. What do I really want? Not what do I think I should want, not what should I want, not what do other people want me to want, but what do I really want? And then there's another question in that. Why do I want it? What will it give me? How will I and others in my life benefit? Then there's another question that goes with that. What will I do? What action will I take to get there? But also, like unto it, what am I not willing to do? You know, for example, there are some people that say, I'd be willing to pretty near kill somebody to get somewhere. And other people say, no, I can't break my faith code, or I can't break my family, or I can't embarrass my family, or I can't tell somebody off, or I can't be confrontational. You have to know the parameters of the actions you will take, but also the actions you will not take, and having a plan or series of plans for circumstances changing and evolving is also important. What will I do if what I think will work isn't working? How long do I give it? And what do I do if what I think is going to work doesn't turn out the way I plan? Not having the ability to confront the unforeseen circumstance is the biggest reason for a lot of people that they stay stuck, sometimes for weeks, months, or even years, decades at a time, because it's like, well, I put all my eggs in the basket of going on America's Got Talent, or I put all my eggs in the basket that I'd eventually get promoted somewhere, or I put all the eggs in the basket that this one person out of 7.5 billion people on the planet was going to think that I was the greatest thing since sliced bread, or I put all my eggs in the basket that being a parent would fulfill me, or I put all the eggs in the basket that I was going to be wealthy. Then what? If it doesn't happen, if it hasn't happened yet, then what? I'm not saying give up on your thoughts creating things or your actions paying off, but what I'm saying is have multiple plans to get to the same destination. Look, if there's music in your heart, if there's an actor in your soul, if there's an athlete in your feet, you'll find a way. But having multiple pathways to get to that place and not accepting no that something is impossible, it may be improbable, but it doesn't mean it's ever impossible, is necessary. But there's a million ways to get to the same destination. And the more flexible you are in the ways to get there, in the methodology used, the easier it becomes for you to find your true passion and kind of the dharma and the karma, in other words, the energy and the energetic impact of coming back into the way of being progressive. Remember, the law of active attraction means you are a co-creator in anything you want, which means opportunities give you a chance to react, respond, create, and then go from there. It's a repeatable, consistent process. Every person can teach you something. Every circumstance can teach you something. You can learn from just as much, if not, a whole different lesson, but just as much from a person who has addiction problems than you can from someone who's a multi-billionaire. You'll learn different things, but you can still learn. There are times when you learn what not to do. There are times where you learn how not to focus. There are times where you learn to be easier on yourself, and times when you learn to discipline yourself. Everything teaches you something, and every action you take has a diametric opposite effect. In other words, for everything that is a strength, there are weaknesses that aren't covered. For every weakness, there are strengths that are undervalued. And so it's all about finding the balance. The true law of active attraction is finding a way to constantly be in progressive motion in all things and at all times. And until tomorrow, this is Scott Golden, Golden Opportunities Coaching. Check out the About Us page for more information on contacting us, and also I invite you to join us on Twitter at PO Perception, and we will be here again tomorrow. Share, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.